Ina mana, ina reo, ina karangatanga, e tēnā koutou katoa. E tika ki te mei, ki te mana oinua o nai tu ahurere, me i rungo i te kapua o te koro ai o nai tau tēnā koutou katoa. Tēnei te mei ki a koutou katoa nā mana oinua o te Waipounamu, me nā rangatira o te taumata, me nā rangatira o te poari. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Tēnā koutou katoa. I acknowledge the iwi of Ngaitahu who have upheld the sacred expression of kaitiakitanga over all of your special landing places. It is such a wonderful manifestation of ahi ka to work within this unique partnership that is Te Pūtaitanga o Te Waipounamu. Ngaitahu, Ngāti apa ki te rātua, Ngāti tama, Ngāti kuia, Ngāti koata, Te ati awa, Ngāti tō rangatira, rangatani o Wairau, and Ngāti Rārua. 3 months ago, our team travelled as far north as we could go to the sacred home of the Kaitiaki Taniwā, Huriawa, in the midst of Mōhua. Huriawa is the protective guardian who watches over Waikoropupu Springs. She is well known for her bravery, her wisdom, and her gentle nature as she guards and protects the myriads of waterways that produce waiora, the water of life, the purest form of fresh water. Te Waikoropupu Springs is amongst the very cleanest waters in the world. The sacred fresh waters are said to be healing waters, used by tohunga for cleansing and blessing, for rejuvenating the damaged mauri. These springs and the atua kaitiaki that watch over them are at the centre of iwi relationships. If life cannot survive without water, then the health of these springs reflects the well-being of the peoples. Yet at the same time, as we were all struck in wonder at Waikoropupu, Ngāti Tama was in the High Court, seeking judicial review of the decision of Tasman District Council to allow accompanied consent to take over 4,000 cubic metres of water every week for the next year. It was at that moment that the inspiration for this symposium theme appeared. I shared the story with our brother Che. He talked to me about how the sacred springs of Waikoropupu connect us to Te Waia Moi, the sacred waters located at the top of Kororuapihu. It is said that Tākaka is the place at which Maui Tikitiki a Tāranga anchored his foot to balance himself when he fished up to Ika Maui. Maui's grandfather Fishhook snagged the fish at the location of Kororuapihu, and so the connections were entrenched. You will remember Huriawa, the protective guardian, the enduring love of a parent, who uses her special powers to dive deep into land and sea, to send messages through the surge. Throughout all of our lands, she disentangles tree roots and obstacles to enable the waters to flow. Her children rest at Waikoropupu, while she travels back and forth in her role as caretaker of the myriad of wānau. And so, we come to Te Pūtaitanga o Te Waipounamu. At the start of this month, of course, Ngāti Tama was vindicated with a decision from the High Court ordering the Council to reconsider the extension application. But that moment in time had not happened without the cost of legal action, the divisions, the disunity, the threats to equilibrium. Justice reconciled for a moment, but at a price. Wāhia, haia, rotua. This theme is drawn from the beloved karakia of Ngaitahu, haia te awa. That karakia comes from the Uruao Waka tradition, some 45 generations stretching beyond. It tells of ka pikitua, the adze that clears the path through adversity and storms on its way to Te Waipounamu from Patunui o Ao, the great calm space screened off by the horizon, an allusion to the portion of the ocean seen from any point bounded by the sky. As Shelley told us yesterday, call the island to you. Or as Moana might say, see the land where the sky meets the sea, it calls me. But back to our theme. Our wish for this wānanga was to focus on whatever it takes to be like Huriawa, to clear the path, to disentangle the obstacles, to find a way forward. In clearing the way forward, we must believe in ourselves, shed light on our own potential. It is about finding our connections, whether that be by wakapapa or whanaungatanga, staying strong in the face of adversity because of our faith in the unknown. As a result of this process, whānau can achieve magic and foster the greatness that is the gift that we are all born with. He kākono e ruia mai I rangiatia, wāhia, haia, rotua. I have titled this address, Looking Through the Lens of Whānau, #NoFilter. We have become accustomed to looking at ourselves adorned or distorted by flower crowns, puppy noses, pussycat ears, voice changer, airbrushing, or even looking very much like a nectarine. Our lives are immortalised in 10-second Snapchats, milestones portrayed, one glimpse at a time. But what does it look like when we remove the filter? When we define whānau ora, who is it that comes within our lens? Over this last year, our board, ably led by Matua Norm Jews, including Donovan Clark, Lisa Tumahai, Parikāwea McLean, Trevor Taylor and Glenys Payne, have asked us to turn our settings to panorama, to take a wide view, to include every nook and cranny across the motu. I want to just take a moment to the man who has led us forward, a man never happier than digging in his garden or sharing the generosity with those most in need. During the post-earthquake days of Kaikoura, it was Matua Norm who was up at 5 o'clock, transporting people and supplies to Cheviot, then returning to Tuahiwi with a full van. We have been so well blessed by his leadership, his knowledge of the people, his belief in giving everyone a chance. Tēnā koe e te rangatira. At times it feels like we have travelled every step of the 150,000 square kilometres that defines Te Waipounamu, Warikauri, Rakiura and beyond. In every valley there have been whānau, from Taitapu to Tuatapuri, from Awarua to Waikawa, from Kawatiri to Kaikoura, from Kokorarata to Hokitika. The momentum has surged beyond belief. In the 3 years since we were launched here at this marae on the 26th of July 2014, we have received some 496 applications for what you, as whānau, have defined as your whānau ora. You didn't need a job title. You didn't need a contract with us. You didn't need our permission of any sort to create your plan for transformation. All you needed was you. Today I'm so proud to release our latest 2 digital stories that tell and show without filter what it takes to make a difference. Going online as we speak is the story of He Waka Kotuia from Otaputi and Manawa Ora from Wakatu. We are a firm believer in the power of storytelling. As of last night, breaking news, there had been 61,000 unique views of our digital stories. What we know from the infometrics is that whānau in London, Perth, Dubai, Tukumaru Bay are watching these stories together, bursting with pride as their cousins, their aunties, their uncles share their progress on screen. Those other ideas waiting to bloom are being supported through working with our amazing team of 12 whānau enterprise coaches coaches who help to support our whānau ideas to grow. What we have seen is a consistent commitment towards the connection between whānau and whenua. Over a third of our entities are land-based, recognising that intimate connection between the land and our sense of well-being, a connection that exists prior to colonisation. But here's the thing. When Whānau Ora was first introduced in 2010, the headlines were rife with expectations of the so-called billion-dollar plan. Contrary to public expectation, the funding is far more modest than that. Our commissioning agency started with 4 million, it's grown to 12. That's a long distance to that billion. The thinking was always that Whānau Ora would not be confined to any one appropriation, to vote Whānau Ora exclusively. In the statement to Parliament in February 2011, former Prime Minister Key described, and I quote, "We will be implementing new approaches to social service delivery. Our Whānau Ora program is a standout example of this new approach. We look forward to applying the lessons we learned from Whānau Ora to improve the results we get for social service funding right across government. Right now, in every marae, every runanga, every hapu and iwi across to Waipounamu, there are initiatives that are at the cutting edge of social enterprise, whānau enterprise, coming under the lens of Whānau Ora. If social investment is about investing resources up front to enable people in need to thrive over the longer term, we have multiple examples of that approach in action. Right place, right time, right people, right now. 1,000 Days Trust in Invercargill, supporting our whānau to give our babies the very best start in life. Te Hao Ngā Rangatahi in Blenheim, providing a voice for whānau in Wairau to develop a suicide prevention response based on solutions suggested by whānau. Rangatahi Tūmeki in the Catlins, passing on knowledge about mahinga kai, how to care for our land, tree planting, creating that hunger to learn, which has led to careers in science, marine biology, teaching, while at the same time strengthening our rangatahi in themselves. Te Pā o Rā Kaihautu here in Christchurch, driven by the knowledge that it takes a village for a child to be educated, to be strong in their identity, to be ready to take on the world. Shortly before our symposium started, we received a post on Facebook which asked us the question, how do you bring about ora when abject poverty and negative social gearing stacks completely against our young ones? Perseverance and belief, I guess. Hashtag aroha ki te takata. Looking through the lens of whānau, as we have looked at all of our beautiful images on screen, reminds us that whether we are part of the GPL or Te Taumata, whether we are part of that commissioning pipeline, those 55 merchants of hope that comprise the Navigator workforce, Te Pūnanga Haumaru, leadership, succession wānanga, capability building, whether you are a recipient of Whānau Ora, whether you are my beautiful, talented, incredibly hard-working staff, whether you are whānau, we are all part of a powerful ecosystem of change. Perseverance and belief, indeed, is a big part of the solution, but we shouldn't be doing this alone. If it takes a village to make a difference, just imagine how wonderful it would be if all of our votes, vote education, vote health, vote conservation, vote justice, vote tourism, vote social investment, vote economic growth, vote small business, were prepared to be bold, to be audacious, to place their faith in whānau solutions, to invest in the plan that was laid out for them by our greatest advocate for transformation, Dame Tariana Turia. There is more than enough room in our waka for all of us to paddle. Whānau Ora can be the forever friend of government. We have mutual key performance indicators. We want a stronger future, a more prosperous outlook for all of our mokopuna to inherit just as they do. I am so thrilled and humbled that amongst the leadership gathered here over this wānanga are some of our iwi leaders, some of our champions, our technicians from the Wānau Ora Partnership Group, who have been amongst those lone voices, standing staunch for greater support for Wānau Ora as a way forward. It is also heartening to see Te Puni Kōkiri represented here in such numbers, and the representation from so many of our wānau entities. All of you are our greatest champions for the wānau voice. We need to stay close. In receiving the Sir Peter Blake Award last week, Professor Sir Mason Dury, one of the grand architects of Wānau Ora, in his characteristic humility, said that what should be really celebrated is those who are following behind. He talked about the generation of policymakers, providers, practitioners and politicians who now have a strong foundation to embark on our future. He concluded, we just need to get it together so we can put that knowledge into action. That is exactly our challenge for today. Our wayfinders amongst us have immense potential to inspire each of us to dream bigger, to extend our lens to ensure that no one is left behind or forgotten. But we must be mindful of our future vision. By 2038, the Māori population in Te Waipounamu will grow by 80%. The Pākehā population will grow by 10%. Within the Māori population, the youth cohort will double. If 70% of Māori are under the age of 40 now, we can imagine a future that is over-brimming with potential. We must plan accordingly. As Hannah cautioned us, we must be deliberate in our planning. We must construct the future that we want to see. If we are not dealing with Māori potential now, we are not planning for our future. Taking the filter off the lens is about responding to those issues that are bubbling away in all of our wānau. The force of violence, the threat of self-harm, the abuse of addictions, the adverse impacts upon the wairua, the loss of the capacity to dream, the institutional barriers of racism, the stereotypes that erode the spirit of the promise of Te Tiriti o Waitangi. Now is not the time to start compromising on the legislation of the so-called smacking bill. Since when has physical violence been seen as an appropriate means of keeping our children safe from harm? Tethered last night, and the online evaluation after it, showed us in painful clarity the ongoing traumatic impacts of violence. These issues will not just go away by applying a wash to the filter, by adding puppy ears to our profile shots. We must elevate our conversations to deal with the most intractable issues. We cannot divide our families into victims, perpetrators, offenders, witnesses. As Shelley reminded us yesterday, life is not a linear plan. We need to read the signs, adapt to change, build on the past rather than jettison it, make new scripts, create new norms, find our way. Earlier this year, many of us attended the phenomenon that was called Unleashing the Maui, where participants were set a 100-day challenge to set themselves a goal. I want to take Unleashing the Maui a step further and ask you all to set yourself a 1-week challenge to make a commitment to an idea that is future-focused on wānau. One small step for you, one giant step for our wānau. How do we come together? How do we connect? How do we invigorate and inspire the sense of rongo, to listen, to touch, to smell, to see? How do we be the tuna? How do we understand the potential of our wakapapa? Flow like the river, see the change in our lifetime. How do we fulfil the most noble ambition to be servants of the people, to enact ngākau aroha, to place wānau at the centre of our Snapchat, to draw on all our diverse strengths, to uplift wānau, to know that they have the right to achieve their greatest aspirations? What will it take to look through the eyes of love, to turn lives around, to be fearless in our faith, relentless in our pursuit of our vision, mau te ara ki ora ai te wānau? If the physical and the spiritual are inseparable, if the health of the wānau is dependent on the waters of life, wai ora? It is fitting to return to the spirit of huriawa, to focus on what we must do to guard and protect the precious taonga that all of our children represent. We must raise our voices, connect in time and word, bring together a network of champions who have the capacity to care, to mobilise collective Māori synergies, to create a new dynamic of well-being. Wāhia, haia, rotua. All it takes is the first step. Kia ora.